Come to think of it, talking about the covers of movies, do movies get released with covers anymore? I don't know the last time I ever saw, like, a physical case for a piece of media. They must, right? Hullbreaker gone? Yeah, we should have cut Hullbreaker. You're right, I forgot. Okay, well then, chat. What are we replacing Hullbreaker with? It can be pretty much literally anything, because we're replacing the biggest, most expensive thing in our deck. So what should we play instead? Valky? No, I don't think it's going to be Valky. What's with my opponents not playing the things that died a Parasitic Grasp for me? It's very rude. What about keeping one Hullbreaker worth it? I don't know. If I'm cutting against everything, I don't think it's worth the spot in the deck. I just don't know like what we're supposed to replace it with. To be honest, more or less, we've got a fully functional 48-card deck currently. Is Lear unplayable now? Yeah, we tried earlier. It just wasn't impressive enough. I actually don't think it's worth Parasitic Grasping here, and I've got a really weird reason why I think that's the case. If I'm going to play Edgar here, basically the thing I'm worried about is my opponent main decking Snakeskin Veil. If I Snakeskin Veil either one of these creatures, or if I Parasitic Grasp either one of these creatures and they Snakeskin Veil, it goes up to being a 3-power creature, then they can play a land and Blizzard Brawl to kill Edgar. But if I just don't Parasitic Grasp, then there's no way they kill Edgar without, like, end of my turn 2-for-1ing themselves. Which, like, I think that's preferable, because then I still get to have Parasitic Grasp in hand. Toxrill. Do we want to put a 1 of Toxrill in the deck? I don't think it'll be good, but I do always appreciate when people ask why I'm playing things. And the answer is, I couldn't think of anything better. You get a bunch of people imitating it by putting Toxrills in their deck. That'd be delightful. Pictures are designed at huge resolutions for billboard and digital promotions, and one of those is usually used for physical covers. Oh, yeah, because you can just scale it down. That's true. An Old Growth Troll. We could technically Vanishing Verse that if we wanted to. Do I want to? I don't know. Oh no, Sculptor of Winter gets in damage. How much am I willing to play around Snakeskin Veil? Well, I don't need to. We will Jwari Disruption the Ranger class, which is delightful. Make a 1/1. Vanishing Verse the Old Growth Troll. Hold up Disdainful Stroke. Play a land. Swing. I'm more clueless right now than you were last week when you were playing Master Duels. No! Opponent has card advantage! I actually have to fight now! Alright, Edgar, you got your work cut out for you. We will not be chump blocking Sculptor of Winter on this fine evening. Edgar... Oh, hey, cool. Card advantage. I love top decks working out. We're just going to have a ton of blockers, and Edgar's going to lead the charge on attacking, and opponent's got a Ranger class, and we're just not going to care. Dread feasting in them. That's probably not better than Hullbreaker Horror, but I appreciate the spirit. Seeker's Chariot is good. I don't want my opponent having that. So we're going to say no. What about that 5-mana blue flyer that can put a... that one's an alchemy card, right? I think? Or am I thinking of something else? I mean, realistically, I'd probably just play a third Lolth and another Sorin. Or maybe a third Lolth and... yeah, maybe just a third Lolth and another Sorin, I guess. Divi, thanks for the follow. Glad you're enjoying the stream. Okay, so let's see. We played Edgar, Grasp, Iymrith, Fading Hope, Thirst, cut Horrors, cut Deluge. Is that where we wound up? I think I also cut a Sorin. And a Disdainful Stroke on the draw? I think that's what we ended up at. I'm not totally sure that's correct. We make a lot of creatures, why can't they be demons? I mean, I don't think demon is a better 7-drop than horror. The problem with horror isn't that it's a good 7-drop. The problem with horror is that it isn't being a good enough 5-drop. And I don't think demon fixes that problem either. Go full mid-range, put in some graveyard trespassers. I don't know that I'm too excited about that idea. I mean, like, it's not a bad card, but it's not defensively good. What about a second Iymrith making space in the sideboard? Maybe? I don't hate it. But it's not exciting either, you know? That's not to say it's wrong. It's just to say, what's something spicier than that? I would like to exile that old growth troll opponent. Thank you. I feel bad for mono green when it curves out and just curving out is terrible. Oh, hey, look, they're curving out and curving out isn't working. Poor opponent. Ooh, all right. We do need to draw one more land, but Iymrith is pretty good. No, I don't have a clean answer to a Asika's Chariot. I'm going to Vanishing Verse it before they have creatures so that they can't crew it and use a Snakeskin Veil on it. Untap land. Yay! We did it. Alright. Iymrith comes down and is presumably pretty difficult to remove. That's the hope. Oh, that's a good point. We could just replace Hullbreaker Horror with Jwari Disruption. I'm extremely into the argument that I should just run more lands. Okay, Unnatural Growth is kind of scary, but I got these 2 Soul Shatters, so that's probably totally fine. Alright. 4-turn clock, drawing cards. I appreciate how I have just absolutely out-aggroed my opponent while on the draw. Just completely out-aggroed them. Very good attempt, opponent, but I will take my 2 for 1, thank you. I do still draw a card 1 at 3, right? Yes, okay, love it. More removal, perfect. Gosh, this seems busted, what we're doing to the poor opponent. Okay, that's an old growth troll. You got it. That's a pack leader. You got it. Oh, that's cute. Ascendant Pack Leader gets a counter from Unnatural Growth. Synergy. Okay, your power and toughness has been doubled, opponent. Would you like to try to use a removal spell post-combat? No. Okay. Yeah, let's remove the troll and hold the Fading Hope. I think holding the Fading Hope is best here. We got him on a 2-turn clock. Most of what I'm scared of is them having a fight spell for the Iymrith. And Fading Hope deals with a fight spell better than Soul Shatter. Oh, I didn't pay attention to this. Did I have the opportunity to Jwari Disruption something there and still Soul Shatter? In which case, if I did, I should have done that just so I would get to draw one more card with Iymrith instead of having a Jwari Disruption in my hand. That would have been better. Meanwhile, Lolth is a pretty good card. So I will Jwari Disruption literally anything my opponent plays that turn, just to get the Jwari Disruption out of my hand, which is something I should have considered earlier, but yeah, okay, that went extremely, extremely well. I could disrupt my Soul Shatter. I mean, I think I could have also disrupted, like, any of their creatures. Alright. That adventure concluded. Onwards we go. So I believe we've lost once, or at least once more, and we're down to an 84% win rate. Bummer. Actually, our 2 losses so far were to different green-red decks. I wonder if that means I should try to figure out more stuff to do against green-red decks. Take the play, keep the hand. Study for exam in 4 hours or watch MTG? Probably should study. I'm unfortunately going to be supportive in that manner. Perhaps not supportive of myself, necessarily, but studying is a good idea. I wish I studied more when I was in school. I had an unfortunate experience in college that was perhaps typical of many, that is a relatively easy time in high school led to having very poorly developed study habits in college. Would cutting a Kaya for the third Divine Smite be an option? It would be an option. I'm actually not even remotely convinced at all that Kaya is better than Divine Smite. I'm kind of just testing that assumption out. Alright, well, I'm going to attempt to resolve Memory Deluge if my opponent's going to go for Behold. And I guess I'm going to take 1 card that's useful and 1 card that's bad. And be happy that I put 2 bad cards on the bottom. I was very studious in college and now regret not having more fun. Well, yeah, I can't necessarily... Oh, my opponent's on the draw and just resolved Behold the Multiverse, huh? That's going to be challenging for them. Alright, Celestus. No, they succeeded. Kudos, opponent. What did I study in college? I studied business administration. Extremely boring. Am I supposed to just jam Lolth here and hope my opponent doesn't have Disdainful Stroke? Probably. I think the upside here is too high to not go for it. And the alternative is leaving up a hand of nothing right now. And even if it gets countered, denying them the Celestus trigger is still sort of useful. Alright, so they got rid of my Planeswalker, but I do have some spiders. Haven't watched a ton of Standard since the bans. Is it just Blood on the Snow decks and decks trying to go over the top? No, there's definitely a mixture of aggro decks and more leaning towards control mid-range lists. There are some white-black Blood on the Snow lists, and they're probably the most reliably built decks right now. Oh, Teferi, cute. But I would not say that they are anywhere near dominant. Smile Hell 1, thanks for the follow. Glad you're enjoying the stream. Alright, opponent with a Teferi. Probably going to wind up Soul Shattering the Teferi. Don't want my opponent to get the opportunity to downtick it later on. Memory Deluge. Oh no. Or I could Lolth with my opponent's Teferi at 1. I should actually probably Bloodchief's Thirst the Teferi if I'm going to go for that. That is better than Soul Shattering it, because I can save Soul Shatter as a way to deal with horror slightly more easily. As tempting as it is to play the Lolth, it's really tempting to play the Lolth. I don't know that I can give my opponent that much mana, though. I want to hit my 7th land drop, though, quite a bit. It's kind of risky if I don't. No, I don't think I can afford to play the Lolth here. It's too easy for them to Vanishing Verse the Lolth and then clear the board with like a Meathook Massacre, especially with the extra mana from the Teferi. I think that's... I gotta just hope I draw the land, because I think the alternative isn't functional. Yeah, opponent gets some looting done. Opponent discards a land just to insult me. Painful. Alright. Well, do I want to try to play Lolth or Edgar? Either one is important because it gives the opponent something to... If they interact with it, they don't get to Memory Deluge, which is probably a big deal. Lolth is easier to interact with on their turn. I guess Edgar's probably the bigger threat here. Should have tapped in a way that left up Disdainful Stroke. Wasn't paying attention to auto-tapper. Not the best. I don't think I'm supposed to Meathook Massacre for 0 here, but maybe I am? I probably was supposed to. I've got Path of Peril anyway. Meathook for 4. Alright. Yeah, that would have been a good reason to have Meathooked. Opponent would be at 3 less, but we got the coffin that the opponent has to figure out something to do about. Jwari Disruption. Okay, well, I jam Lolth. See if the opponent found that Disdainful Stroke yet. No. Okay. Well, down tick. Play Jwari Disruption. I think I'm supposed to play to the board. So then when they... Oh, Siphon Insight. Really? People really think that card's good. Opponent already showed that they were playing Behold the Multiverse and Memory Deluge. What does Siphon Insight give you in addition to that? Oh, well. Alright, Bloodchief's Thirst. Sure. Win cons? But you don't need more win cons. Win cons aren't hard to have. Card advantage is hard to have. And Siphon Insight is very expensive card advantage. If every card in your opponent's deck is better than every card in your deck, Siphon Insight becomes the best card in your deck. That's true. But I don't think opponent's playing bad cards, other than, thus far, Siphon Insight. Is this mine? Is this going to my graveyard? I hope that's mine. I think that's mine. Sweet. Radical. Drew a land, which means I just get to get card advantage and threats here. I could also grab more lands, I suppose. Well, I'm going to take a Memory Deluge and an Edgar, I think. On the off chance they do manage to remove my coffin and a backup Edgar, I feel like we'll be good. Path of Peril clears out some creatures. Yep. Edgar makes a creature and transforms, goes to combat, attacks. Does damage. I think I sorcery speed Deluge here because I want to try to hit this land drop, probably. Opponent siphons Insight in response. Opponent's probably on Super Turtle Esper with Siphon Insight as the only win con. Maybe. Yeah, I mean, we've seen Teferi, which potentially... Wow, they are main decking Test of Talents, huh? Okay, I've been blown out. Quite hard. That's unexpected, but okay. I'm really curious what their strategy against aggro is. But maybe the removal is just functional enough that they don't need win cons, they think? Or, I mean, you can claim that, but opponent still needs to answer Edgar. We are still having that ongoing song and dance. Three Celestus? Wow. Okay, they're not kidding about the Teferi strategy then, huh? Sooner or later we're going to find some Disdainful Strokes. Hullbreaker Horror. Running that into Soul Shatter, eh? Okay. Wonder how many Hullbreaker Horrors they have. Four horrors? Eh, maybe. Maybe 4 copies of horror. Infernal Grasp the Edgar. Bouncing the horror would be the most card advantage positive thing they could do. Yeah, I can't really let them replay the horror. I think I've lost out on a lot of damage by not having played that Meathook Massacre earlier. Hopefully that doesn't come back to bite me too much. But the main deck Test of Talents, that has done kind of infinity work here. That and the Celestus looting away a bunch of dead cards has also done a lot of work. Oh, we think we're racing? Really? Alright. You know I have a haul as well, opponent, right? And like an active Edgar? Okay, I mean I could play stuff into this represented Divide by 0, but I don't need to, so I won't. Or represented Disdainful Stroke is what I mean to say. We're just going to do damage. I do not think that Hall of the Storm Giants line was good. More Siphon Insights. Yeah, okay. This position's gotta be pretty awkward for you, right, opponent? I mean, they're certainly out on resources, but I have one Edgar, and one Edgar is so many resources. Siphon Insight, number the next one. Looking for answers to Edgar, but I don't main deck any. I don't think. Yeah, I don't really main deck any. That is still accurate. Bloodchief's Thirst. Oh gosh, that's so desperate. Oh, opponent, I'm sorry. So they left up a ton of mana so that they can answer Hall here. And presumably also counterspells. Negate. Wow! Opponent is so deep into hating control mirrors. Jeez. I think I just play out the Iymrith to give him something to counter, and to stop it from turning to night. Oh, okay. Now, presumably that means that they're going to board wipe then. Which, okay. Meathook Massacre for 5. Sure. Does that kill them? Opponent, are you dead on board? Because it's not going to night now. And I got a haul. Do you have an untapped land? You kind of need an untapped land, right? Or a blocker? Oh, okay, just dead. All right. So, post-board plan. Definitely Go Blanks, possibly Sorins, possibly Kaya's, possibly Stowaways, definitely Disdainful Stroke, possibly Divine Smite. No to Grasp, no to Massacre, no to Path of Peril. Probably no to Iymrith. No to Divine Smite. Do I think Field of Ruin is too greedy to include? Yes. They can pay for Celestus? Nah, they only had 4 with Celestus. They needed an untapped land, so then they could use Celestus to cast a removal spell and have 3 lands to pay for Hall's Ward. Oh, cool. Well, it's fine. We already boarded in all the cards we needed to board in. I just need to figure out 1 card to board out. I'm not actually excited about Bloodchief's Thirst in, like, any way at all. So, actually, that's, like, super easy to cut, come to think of it. Yeah, alright. I think I'm on 4 Edgars. They probably have ways to board in answers to Edgar, but, yeah. Edgar also came back along with the Hall, although the 4 damage that Edgar was representing didn't actually make a difference in that case. They were kind of just dead to the Hall. We are on the draw, which is not ideal. But we do have turn 2 Stowaway, so I'm going to give this a shot. Opponent has something held up on 2 mana at sorcery speed. What would that be? Oh. They have Siphon Insight. I think I'm probably happier to be resolving Suspicious Stowaway against Siphon Insight most of the time. Siphon Insight's also a reason that I shouldn't be boarding in those cards that exile Edgar, out of suspicion that my opponent has Edgar. Because it gives them an answer to my Edgar if they don't have an answer to Edgar. Go blank, huh? Swamp for sure. What else besides Swamp? I don't want to get rid of Memory Deluge. I don't want to get rid of Go Blank. I don't want to get rid of Disdainful Stroke. I guess I could get rid of Shattered Sanctum, play Jwari Disruption, hold up Disdainful Stroke next turn. I do want the second blue source for Memory Deluge quite a bit. I could get rid of Disdainful Stroke and just Go Blank them. I'm probably supposed to get rid of Disdainful Stroke and just Go Blank them here. I'll get rid of the Siphon Insight, which is probably valuable. Lame Blasto, thanks for the follow. Glad you're enjoying the stream. This isn't Team or Flash. No, but it is a very good standard deck. A very, very, very good standard deck. Yeah, we'll loot away the Shattered Sanctum. That's not so bad. Think attacking first is correct? Yeah, it is strictly better, but I don't think there was anything I could draw there that changes that decision from me. Land, huh? Alright. You got a Jwari Disruption opponent? Or a Negate or a Test of Talents, I suppose. Siphon Insight would be kind of bad. Did they just not play the Siphon Insight in response? Okay, that seems like an error. Siphon Insight does not, in fact, put the card in hand, but rather puts it, you know, into a spot where it's safe. What's the timing I'm supposed to Memory Deluge here? I guess it's upkeep. I'm giving the opponent the option to exile it with Hive or the Eye Tyrant this turn, but that doesn't actually matter as much as you might think. I guess I'll take Soul Shatter over land drops. The reason it doesn't matter is because the opponent's going to get an opportunity to exile with Hive or the Eye Tyrant next turn anyway. Sweet! They didn't even get the chance to! Because I can't make enough land drops to cast that Memory Deluge from the graveyard before the opponent can attack with the Hive no matter what. And now, since we've actually hit that Soul Shatter and they didn't get to attack with Hive there, they're kind of incentivized to attack with Hive to exile the Memory Deluge, and then I get to destroy their land with Soul Shatter. Oh, or they don't go for that. Shoot. Alright, this is kind of awkward. If I Memory Deluge and they found Test of Talents, I'm in a lot of trouble, so I don't think I can do that. I guess there's no way around it. No matter how I do this, I guess if I flash back from the graveyard, it's a little better for me. Okay. Yeah, because then I actually get to draw from the one that's in hand when they exile it. How are we liking the sideboard stowaway so far? Well, it's been good in this game. I could just keep passing and doing nothing. I do think that's probably what I have to do. I don't think trying to jam in this situation when I'm ahead on cards and ahead on lands is correct. Potentially I'm giving the opponent the option to draw into Test of Talents, but... Go blank. Okay, well, that I definitely have to try to Memory Deluge instead, and then they get to test me. No real way around that for me. Yeah. That's just how that functions. So I need to draw into some kind of threat. I don't. I draw into Disdainful Strokes. Gonna get rid of the 2 removal spells and hold the strokes. Lovely. Top decking perfectly is good. Alien Nathan, thanks for the follow. Glad you're enjoying the stream. Okay, Celestus is annoying. Stroke is not so good against Horror, though. That's true. Yeah, it's true. I actually probably should have played around Horror. You got a point. That meant Stroke and the other one. Not proper play on my part. I also probably shouldn't have played that last land out. Not a lot of likelihood that I'm going to need a Disdainful Stroke twice. But there is a possibility I draw a Celestus. Yeah. Improper play gonna cost me. Hopefully we top deck a Vanishing Verse or a Soul Shatter. Okay. Yeah, that makes sense. Bounce to get in more damage. Odds are pretty good the opponent's probably on negate here. How many answers to that have I gotten rid of thus far? No, literally just one, which means we have like 5 more to draw? Huh. I have a limited number of draw steps, which is to say probably just one. And that's only if they don't have anything they can do at sorcery speed to get rid of this 1/1. If they have Vanishing Verse, they can animate Hive and then verse it. And Meathook for 1's good enough. Alright. That one was definitely my bad. I wasn't thinking about Horror as an out. That should have been more on my mind. Changes? Nah, not really. Although Bloodchief's Thirst seems slightly less interesting now. I don't really have a good alternative. I would be kind of happy to have a Lolth here, I think, that I could replace this Bloodchief's Thirst with. We'll just doing literally any spell play here. Yeah, as long as the spell is legal to cast. Dixie play, keeps a hand, plays a land. Yeah, bummer we don't have Suspicious Stowaway here. That'd be strong. Alright, let's hold up Jwari Disruption on the off chance our opponent has Stowaway. They do not. Okay. So they did get to see our entire sideboard plan last game. Celestus. Excellent. Good for me. Edgar is super tempting, but I think I'm supposed to Sorin an uptick. I think I'm just supposed to fight this axis on card advantage as hard as possible, and I don't think a 2/3 is worth a card. Divine Smite seems good though, hits Teferi and Hive. Does not hit Teferi. In fact, it pretty much only hits my cards, which makes Siphon Insight better, so definitely don't want it. Definitely don't want it. we have seen no copies of Disdainful Stroke thus far. I'm going to be very sad if I get Disdainful Stroke here, but I think playing Edgar is correct. No, that looked like Jwari Disruption, which is worth thinking about in the future. Memory Deluge at sorcery speed, trying to make a land drop, giving me an opportunity to resolve a Memory Deluge at sorcery speed as well. Opponent makes a land drop. Opponent has duress. Wow, okay. Well, I do get to resolve the other Memory Deluge at sorcery speed. I don't think they have stuff that Vanishing Verse... Well, Horror. Okay, so their hand has Horror in it that I should be mindful of. Vanishing Verse, and honestly Bloodchief's Thirst. I'll take more answers to Horror if I can get them. I don't think a land is worth anything to me here. Yeah. It only exiles black creatures or planeswalkers, I believe. Which is most of the creatures that see play in white-black, but none of the ones our opponent is playing currently. Foretold. Have we seen any Foretell cards thus far from them? We have seen Behold. That's true. That's true. So this is kind of interesting. I can play the land and try to play Memory Deluge and hope they don't have Test of Talents. We know they have a Jwari Disruption they haven't played yet. Or at least I'm pretty confident they have a Jwari Disruption they haven't played yet. I could wait to play Memory Deluge until their turn, which also lets me loot away the Bloodchief's Thirst. But then I'm letting my opponent untap, and that's kind of questionable. No, I guess I'm going to do it here, because even a Jwari Disruption right now means they're not resolving Behold, which is something. Yeah, stole a Disdainful Stroke from me. Okay, not great. Go blank. Okay. I think I'm keeping Vanishing Verse, but there's a problem with this Hall of the Storm Giants. Yeah, there's the Behold. Yeah, I'm definitely falling behind. They got more card advantage, and they actually do have Go Blank. Hopefully not too many copies of Go Blank. Get to loot away a land. Find a Sorin. Alright, that's something we can jam. Meathook for 4. Okay. Slows things down and gains them life, which is probably what they were looking for. I am a little surprised that stayed in, but I suppose it's not that surprising, really. Kaya. How do they answer Kaya if we just start upticking Kaya in this spot? They have very few turns. I guess they could attack Kaya with Hull? But they can't Vanishing Verse this token. I kind of feel like I'm just supposed to start threatening Kaya Ultimate here. Yeah, I can't uptick Kaya on the creature that's in play, but I can just uptick Kaya on nothing. So they can get to the point where they Hullbreaker Horror and then cast something to bounce the Kaya, especially if they have enough land drops to stop us from ultimating. But that gives us an opening to Vanishing Verse the Hullbreaker Horror, provided they don't find a discard spell before then. I don't think I'm on plan Stowaway at this point. Huh. I feel pretty comfortable I win this game if we ultimate Kaya. So, do I hold back a blocker for Hall? Is there any world in which, I guess like a Fading Hope technically is something I try to play around? It's so tempting to jam this Sorin because I theoretically can just uptick it to replace itself, but I think I have to not do that because I think one of the ways that I could lose this game... Well, wait, what happens if they counter the Sorin and then hand hate me? They still can't actually get rid of the Kaya. I mean, they could. They could have an exile effect to get rid of the Kaya. Alright, I'm going to jam the Sorin. I think it probably still gets countered here, but I don't actually think I'm afraid of Go Blank in this spot. Yeah, it does get countered. I think it's difficult for them to play Go Blank and answer the Kaya is the gamble I'm taking here. Did we keep in Soul Shatter? They could steal it. We did. They could. Which probably incentivizes us to have played the Sorin. And also incentivized us to attack with a Vampire token. Well, then again, we have... No, we already looted the 1-mana removals, the Bloodchief's Thirst away. They play our Edgar. Okay, I think I'm willing to Disdainful Stroke that. Oh, also we have Lethal. I forgot how much damage Edgar does, which it just so happens is lethal if I had attacked with the 1/1 last turn. I messed that up, but luckily they didn't find an answer to the Kaya, so it didn't matter. Would you rather your boss be Kaya or Edgar Markov? I think there's a lot of people who might like a boss who spends most of the time sleeping and not telling you what to do. Alright, that was a fun game. I dug that. Not an exciting hand, but I guess all we need to do is draw a white source for Edgar and then a black source for Lolth, and we should be fine-ish. Maybe. Okay. Is it Delver? Okay. That's not where I saw this going a second ago, but alright. Opponent reveals Negate off the turn 1 Insectile Aberration. Well, we are just off to the races, huh? It's kind of tempting to Bloodchief's Thirst the Insectile Aberration. I should. My brain tells me to keep the smaller CMC card against the Negate later on, but I've got a pretty strong suspicion that my opponent is on Goldspan Dragon, and so I kind of want to hold the Soul Shatter. Malevolent Hermit in the main. Okay. Opponent going deep. I see how it is. Is this any non-creature spell? It is, including Lolth. Rude. Alrighty. Well, opponent, I guess I'm racing you. Probably shouldn't try to, but I'm gonna. So I can Soul Shatter to remove the Malevolent Hermit, and the question just becomes what to do about the negate. I don't really want to Soul Shatter to remove a Hermit. I could also do nothing. Let's see what I'm gonna do. Cast spells on my turn? I don't care. I'm under no obligation to do anything, opponent. I've got an Edgar on the board. Fading Hope. You trying to say I don't got an Edgar on the board, opponent? Rude. Alright, well, let's play the Edgar then. Oh, cool, I got an Edgar on the board. Fading Hope not at its best. Okay, Fading Hope number 2. Alright. How's the opponent going to recoup from this card disadvantage? I am curious. Interested to see, though. Alright, still can't negate an Edgar. Hey, now, one of those was 1 blue mana, deal 2 damage. Certainly much better. I could Soul Shatter the Hermit here. Kind of in trouble if they just let that resolve. I do sort of need to push a Lolth through eventually, though. Alright, Soul Shatter it is. I'm hoping they don't just let the Soul Shatter resolve. What I want to do next turn is play Lolth with Jwari Disruption backup. I guess I can't do that if they negate this either, can I? I didn't really think about that. If they negate it, then I can play Lolth with an untapped land. Something. Not a good thing, but a something. And there's literally no world in which they sack the Hermit. I guess this actually had no possibility of going well for me, now that I think about this a little more. Cool. That was the only line this was good against, and it was the only line they had absolutely no reason to do. I'll take it. Alright, I will happily play the Lolth. I will happily Jwari Disruption the negate. I should have never questioned my soul read on the opponent's choices. Alright, we got a Board of Aggression. Goldspan Dragon would be annoying, so hopefully that's not what opponent does now. Because this is the one turn I've given them a window for it. They drew something that wasn't a spell. It was a land. Alright, so I need them to not have Goldspan Dragon into a removal spell for a spider. Why do they counter it? Because there is a lot of habit when playing Malevolent Hermit to counterspell the removal spells on it, because those removal spells tend to be either Vanishing Verse or Spikefield Hazard. What? Okay. So you kind of just get muscle memory trained into, I'm supposed to counter this so that I don't get my Malevolent Hermit exiled, and opponent kind of just fizzled on the part of the concept that is, wait, this doesn't exile my creature. Alright, let's downtick the Lolth. We're here to be aggressive. That's what's going on. Oh, does this stop being a human? No. Okay, cool. Never had to check that before. I would like to Disdainful Stroke a Goldspan Dragon, please. Do you have more negates, opponent? Yep. That was a... Oh, right, Goldspan Dragon's not in play yet. That's why. Okay. Yep, there's a Goldspan Dragon in play. Does it attack? Probably can't. It does not. I would like to kill the Delver. No chumpy blocky today. Combat. Swing with everybody. Opponent has to chump block Edgar with Goldspan Dragon. You know, can't block a spider. Those got menace. Alright, eat a Goldspan Dragon. Get a Coffin. Opponent's at 4. Play another Edgar. That's a lot of damage! Poor opponent. They just can't handle my aggro curve out. Front side of Delver can be grasped for 1B. Yeah, I clicked the wrong one by mistake. In fact, both sides of Delver can be grasped for less mana than that. But luckily my opponent didn't have the 4 Jwari Disruptions to punish me. Okay, well, I think I might actually want Sorin against what the opponent's doing. I mean, I guess not against Fading Hope. And presumably if they're on Delver and a bunch of Fading Hopes, they're probably on Leer as well. So I want Disdainful Stroke. Probably want Bloodchief's Thirst, I guess. I might want Sorin. What do I not want? I guess I probably don't actually want Edgar, do I? I mean, it did win that game, but I don't actually think that's how that's supposed to go most of the time. I don't think I can usually out-attack my opponent. And if my opponent didn't miss land drops, I wouldn't really have been able to play the Edgar either. I could try to do Suspicious Stowaway nonsense. That is an option. Although my opponent is playing a deck with Spikefield Hazard, so it's less inherently good. Parasitic Grasps I normally wouldn't consider useful against them, but there is a lot more targets since they're playing Delvers. And I don't think we jam Stowaway here. Okay, removal spells and land drops. No Disdainful Strokes for a Goldspan Dragon yet is not perfect, but is decent. Alright, I think we lead on Shipwreck Marsh, and then probably Hall of the Storm Giants, Parasitic Grasp the Delver. Opponent has a Fading Hope. Okay. Does that mean that I don't Parasitic Grasp the... Ooh, drew a Disdainful Stroke. Excellent. That might mean that I don't Parasitic Grasp the Insectile Aberration on a turn where they can Fading Hope it. I'm not sure how much damage I'm going to take from being reluctant to do that, though. Could Parasitic Grasp it now, and if they Fading Hope it, they get card advantage, but they can't replay it because they already played the Spikefield Cave? I think I'm supposed to play this based on card advantage, not based on life total. We'll see how correct that is. I'm probably going to be a lot less comfortable with that idea when my life total winds up lower. I was kind of expecting that they would Expressive Iteration at some point, though. And then, like, give me an opening to Parasitic Grasp this thing. Sort of surprised that they're not doing that at all. I guess in their mind they might not have to do anything until the Insectile Aberration dies. Yeah, I mean, we're kind of close to the point at which I just have to hit this Insectile Aberration, I guess. Test of Talents on Parasitic Grasp. Huh, okay. That gives them information about my hand. How okay with that am I? Yeah, I guess I gotta go for the Aberration here. And they Fading Hope it. No, they just negate. Huh. Well, that's pretty bad. I'm one sorcery speed removal spell short of this working out decently for me. I wonder if on my 3 mana turn I was supposed to remove the Aberration so that I could fire off a sorcery speed. Oh, Sorin, you're so close to good, but you're not. Yeah, no, I can't go shields down this turn. Now they Expressive Iteration? Did they top deck that at the perfect time? Or did they actually just play that totally perfectly through there, never casting the Expressive Iteration when they didn't need to? So they know about the Meathook Massacre, they're unlikely to play anything into it, and they know about the Disdainful Stroke. Another... Wait. Can they? I guess they can try to hit an untapped blue source off of this. Or they might have one in hand. Nope, they hit an untapped blue source. Alright, that's pretty excellent for them. More lands is not remotely helpful. We're going to start with the Meathook Massacre and hope they don't have negate. Or Disdainful Stroke. No, they Fading Hope the Aberration, which is a good start for me. I'm not wrong when I identified earlier that card advantage was going to be more important than life total. The problem is I'm losing on both fronts. And you know about this Disdainful Stroke, so that's a bad sign for me. Test of Talents. Wow. Test of Talents... I feel like that's not a card that should be in an aggro deck sideboard right now. I think players have gotten used to overrating that card because it was important against... Is it mirrors? And that's not really the case anymore. Active player, non-active player order, so a board wipe doesn't answer these here. So I need them to not have Fading Hope or a Goldspan Dragon. I guess a Goldspan Dragon wouldn't be lethal here. I also need them to not have Spike. No, Spike Field's not good enough. Shatter Skull's good enough. Yowzas! Alright, flooded a little too hard there. Yeah, that's true. It also got overrated against Sultai. But it was at least playable there, even if it did get overrated. But it was actively extremely important against Izzet, and I think it's very easy to misunderstand why it was so good against Izzet, and it was pretty much entirely because it was good against Galvanic Iteration. Being good against Memory Deluge isn't really the same thing. And playing a Test of Talents that doesn't hit Planeswalkers is a pretty big liability. I'm sort of interested in Parasitic Grasps, but I don't really know that I have anything that I can cut for it. Yeah, I don't think I do. Had a personal rule that was after citing in 4 Test of Talents, always counter the first expressive iteration of the game. So weirdly, I don't actually think expressive iteration was that good. Alright, well, I'll keep this and hope things don't go horribly. Which is to say, I hope I don't draw too many lands. I think expressive iteration also gets pretty overrated in the context of Standard. Okay, well, I guess I could just keep a really bad 7 and my opponent doesn't have cards. Jwari Disruption gets a lot better as your opponent mulligans. Just depends on the meta. If they're playing against only decks where it's good, it's good. The thing is that I think it's only good against Is It Epiphany, and that's not a deck anymore. Alright, we're going to kill the Delver. And hope they don't slam a threat that I needed a Jwari Disruption this turn. They do not. Okay, we are beginning to flood. That could be a problem. They're meta, not that meta? Yeah, but like, I don't think there is any deck that Test of Talents is worth playing against right now. If I jam Sorin, it just gets countered by Hermit. That's not really fun. We'll top deck an answer to Hermit and then get to play Sorin. Probably. Maybe. That's a lot of lands. Okay, Parasitic Grasp is excellent. We did it. I should probably try to save the life here. They're going to counter the Hermit, or they're incentivized to sack the Hermit to counter this. This is going to look weird. No, wait. So if they Test of Talents this, if I Jwari Disruption, my concern is that if they have untapped land, if I don't counter this and they have untapped land, then they can have Malevolent Hermit plus Counterspell. I think I gotta throw this away to eliminate that possibility. There's no point in disrupting my own grasp. The exile portion of Test of Talents is not actually, like, relevant text. It's just a really bad negate. The only time Test of Talents exiling something ever matters is if it hits a spell with flashback. If my opponent wants to thin my deck of a removal spell, that's fine by me. Memory Deluge is kind of the only card that makes Test of Talents better than negate. And I think the existence of a bunch of Planeswalkers kind of makes that, wow, really? I think they had to counter that and tap me out and hope to top deck Goldspan Dragon. Well, maybe they don't have the land. Maybe they don't have the Goldspan Dragon in hand, so that a top deck red source doesn't give them Goldspan Dragon. Spectral Adversary. Oh, that's cute. So they pay the mana, and then phase out my 2/3. Okay, yeah, so I got a Jwari Disruption that. Denies them the mana necessary to phase out my 2/3 so they can't kill Sorin. That was a neat plan, though. Makes sense why they didn't sack the Hermit. but I guess I can't do that if they hit an untapped land, is, I suppose, the logic. Alright. Lands. Here we go. Would like them to not have another Spectral Adversary so that the flooding out doesn't hurt so bad. If they attack with both, do I block the Hermit or the Adversary? I think I would prefer to block the Adversary. Okay, that's a stellar draw. Is there a world in which the opponent has a Spikefield Hazard and doesn't play it as a land in the hopes that I downtick this Sorin? I don't think it matters. I think I have to uptick no matter what. Okay, lands is cool. And my mana's basically perfect. Okay, Meathook for 1. Probably gets a negate out of the opponent. Yeah, okay. That's fine. Alright, they topped that in time to kill the Sorin, which also means that the Meathook Massacre timing was quite bad. Alright, taking 3 damage a turn for the time being. Would be nice to have hit a creature land by now. Spike Field. I'm really surprised they played that Spike Field. They must have a 5-drop they care about quite a bit. Because the idea of attack with everything here and then Spike Field the 2/3 after attacks is pretty tempting. Okay, Lolth. Hope that resolves. Probably doesn't, but I don't think I'm allowed the mercy of not jamming. Alright, slowly working the opponent out of cards. They're going to draw lands eventually. One would hope. Question is, when am I supposed to throw away this 2/3? I probably have to do that this turn. I can't risk my opponent drawing a Fading Hope, I don't think. The reason not trading might be good is because I could hit a Planeswalker to... what's the word I'm looking for? Protect, or a Meathook Massacre. That Celestus activation was bad. It was going to flip tonight anyway, and now I can't play Disdainful Stroke through Malevolent Hermit unless I play a land, which means less cards with Celestus. But I have to play the land, because I can't risk them going untapped land in a 5-drop, which they probably have because they played the Spikefield Cave. Well, alright. At least I wasn't going to get the loot anyway. Alright. We're gaining enough life to not be dead yet. Opponent's nearly at enough mana to make the Halt of Storm Giants threatening. Okay. Those are good cards. We can actually do things. I like that. Vanishing Verse the Adversary probably gets countered by Hermit. They probably replay the Hermit. No, they test of talents that and not the Memory Deluge? Really? Okay, strange, but sure. Oh, they have a Spike Field Hazard and weren't concerned about the Memory Deluge? That's what's going on? No, wait, Spike Field Hazard, they're not doing 8, they're doing 7. That doesn't work. That's a good draw. Okay. Path of Peril? What's your counterspell, opponent? Okay, well, I'm going to 3. And a loot, so okay. I need my opponent to not have a lot of things here. Sorin would have been good enough if we drew it. Yowzas! What an intensely miserable game. Nope. Did not make it. Kudos to the opponent. That was a game well played from a lot of mulligans. That is the thing you're supposed to play for in that kind of a spot. Second test in hand. The other test would have... Oh, I should have set an upkeep stop. I shouldn't have let them get to their draw step. That's fair. That's fair. If we had drawn Vanishing Verse, I was supposed to cast the Vanishing Verse before they had the opportunity to top deck into a counterspell. They had Hermit on board, but I wanted them to have to sacrifice the Hermit so that they wouldn't have lethal. Their deck looked like it was extremely unprepared to deal with an Iymrith if I had found it, like, on an earlier turn. Well, I'm extremely unexcited about this, but it's got 3 lands and some 4-drops, so I don't want a mulligan. Well, we have 4 lands, so that gets us somewhere. Somewhere is not going to be casting Edgar on 4. Well, okay, Celestus probably literally the best possible draw. That's cool. Alright, get to do some looting. I mean, I don't really want to get rid of Sorin. Okay, snow means we're playing against white-black mid-range, which also means, although I do like Edgar, just casting Memory Deluges is the most important thing that I could be doing right now. My opponent's Edgar, I don't have good answers to game 1. Eye Twitch I don't care about at all, though, so that's cool. Okay. Now I'll take a Vanishing Verse, and Hall's tempting, I guess. I don't technically need more white sources, I guess. It is a removal spell. I'm presuming that no, opponent doesn't sack the Eye Twitch. Okay, well, if opponent doesn't want to do anything, I'm just going to sit here drawing more cards. That is a fully functional strategy. Opponent animates Hive. Oh, that's going to be real disappointing for them. Okay, so we Soul Shatter the Hive. Oh, no, we Soul Shattered. So it's supposed to Vanishing Verse first and then Soul Shatter. I forgot Eye Twitch. I forgot Hive isn't a 4-drop. Basically. Yeah, First the Eye Twitch, then Soul Shatter the land, so they don't get the learn trigger. Oopsies. Environmental Sciences, but they don't get to cast it here. Okay, we get to Memory Deluge. Opponent top decks a land. Loom. Okay, opponent is a much more aggressive deck than the first 10 turns would seem to indicate. I guess it's only for 6, huh? Alright, well, let's take a Sorin, I guess, and a Vanishing Verse. Get rid of a Luminarch Aspirant, see what the opponent has to say about that. Opponent says rad. Cool. I don't think I want to jam Sorin on the turn where my opponent has Vanishing Verse up. So we'll just Memory Deluge instead here. Edgar. Not exciting. Alright. Path of Peril and a land, then. Hive. Something. If I play Edgar, how much mana do I have left? 5? Not enough to deluge. Not terribly exciting. I guess I could Edgar and Sorin. Opponent vanishes the Sorin. Sacks their Edgar to exile my Edgar. Answers to Edgar in the main board include their answers to Edgar, however, are the 2 mana exile target permanent, sack one of your own Rites of Oblivion. That's the one. I think I just Memory Deluge here. Taking 4 from the Edgar is totally fine. Baleful is an answer to Edgar, but it's tough to justify the usage of slots in your deck for that, I think, because it's real expensive. Especially because the decks where Edgar is the biggest threat tend to be decks that play sacrifice outlets anyway. And if they just sacrifice Edgar in response to your removal, you're so hurt by it. Alright, Lolth and Iymrith. That seems excellent. I suppose Iymrith is, in a sense, an answer to Edgar, isn't it? I can probably also jam my Edgar now. Alright, opponent, what's your answer here? That is a Lolth of Planeswalkers, isn't it? So this means probably Meathook Massacre? Or Blood on the Snow? Meathook Massacre makes it... I guess I block with Edgar, yeah. Meathook Massacre makes it wrong to block with Iymrith. If they're going to kill Iymrith, I want them to spend more mana on it. Okay. Not entirely sure what the timing on that was supposed to to, but okay. Let's see. I think we downtick Lolth and play Sorin and uptick Sorin. Yep, Vanishing Verse on Lolth. Actually, I guess I'd rather have the ability to downtick the other Lolth on an empty board. Yay! And also, I had to spend less life on drawing a card because we hit a land. Not that I'm really that excited about hitting a land, but eh. Disdainful Strokes for Edgar is the best answer, yeah. But unfortunately, that does have to be before Edgar hits the battlefield. Massacre, not stellar. Opponent gains so much life. Aspirant, sure. How much do I care about Aspirant, I wonder? I mean, I guess I technically might. Yeah, I guess I care about removing that so Sorin isn't being threatened. So they have another Deadly Dispute? Oh. Yeah? I don't know about that one, opponent. But, alright, I respect the spirit. I respect it. I'm gonna sit here and keep drawing cards with Planeswalkers. I feel like drawing cards is all I'm supposed to do in life. Maybe I'm supposed to try to kill the opponent somehow, but I don't know. Holding two blue lands just to get you? I don't think the opponent's actually playing blue lands, because they didn't fetch a snow-covered island with the environmental sciences earlier. Wait, so they could make me sack the vampire token here? That's no good. I think I gotta hold up Hall of the Storm Giants to block this Luminarch Aspirant right now. To protect my Planeswalkers, who are both not in any danger of dying at all, to be honest. Well, yeah, I don't know. Disruption is a blue land, it's a free splash because it's land and a spell. That's not really how it works, because you do have to put lands in your deck to cast it. But, kind of. You sure about this, opponent? This is not a profitable attack. It actually is, because it denies me Memory Deluge, but from their perspective, I just animate Hall and block, and their creature dies. Okay. Reduced to memory on Lolth. Unfortunate. We play Memory Deluge. We get a Disdainful Stroke and a Memory Deluge. Edgar Papa's coffin flips. Okay, go to combat. Attack with everybody. I'm just going to wipe the board, so I don't really care what happens here. I want the Henrika gone. So they're going to have an Edgar, which they could run into the hall. I think it just upticks Sorin. Parasitic Grasp, sure. That's a card, so why not? Here come Dad Edgar. They could have a Vanishing Verse here. They would get to successfully deal damage to Sorin in that case. Okay. Admittedly, opponent, I'm not actually sure how I'm getting through that Edgar. I still need to figure that part of this game out, but I appreciate that you think I can do it. Because I'd ran out of every single Planeswalker in my deck. Most of my game plan there involved, like, ultimating Sorin twice at my opponent's face, I think. Alright, Kaya, maybe Sorin, definitely Go Blanks. Maybe Bloodchief's Thirst, definitely Divine Smites. Probably not Parasitic Grasp. Probably Disdainful Stroke. Probably not Iymrith. This is complicated by the fact that I want to keep in Bloodchief's Thirst against a deck that's playing Luminarch Aspirant. Because the rest of the deck it's very bad against. What are we doing here? What are we doing? What are we doing? What are we doing? I need 3 cuts. There, let's get rid of Soul Shatter. I think I definitely gotta have Disdainful Stroke. Alright, I guess I'll get rid of a Path of Peril. No, I'm probably supposed to get rid of a Vanishing Verse over a Path of Peril. Is Kaya still worth it? If I can't bring in Kaya against a deck that I know plays Edgar, then Kaya doesn't deserve to be in the deck. Because I feel like I have to bring in Kaya against any deck with Edgar. Otherwise, Kaya just needs to be Divine Smite if that's not the case, no matter what the speed of the Edgar deck is. Yeah, Sorin's ult wasn't very good. I was going to need a lot of Sorin ultimates at their face. It turns out, if you Sorin ultimate an Edgar, it does not get exiled. It still comes back. I wonder how many times a Sorin ultimate has ever gone after a creature, come to think of it. Down to 5, our opponent is... Go Blanks, probably pretty good against that. Alright, let's start off with... Yeah, Grim Climb, I think. Hold up the Divine Smite. I could Divine Smite Eye Twitch. That's probably a very bad idea. I kind of hope my opponent Go Blanks me so that I can Go Blank them. They didn't. Okay, well, I'm gonna Go Blank them. That's a Jwari Disruption as a land. Not white mana at this current moment. Aplaseki, thanks for the follow. And 3 to the Dome, who I missed earlier, an hour ago. Wow, I'm bad at this. Either way, I'm glad you're both enjoying the stream. Okay, Teachings of the Archaic, I guess, is a reason to splash Jwari Disruption in your learn board? Maybe? I don't know if that's actually true, but I'll accept that. Edgar, sure. I could Divine Smite the Edgar, or I could just play my own Edgar. I imagine they teachings here, and then I just get to Kaya their Edgar, and that seems like that would be excellent for me. Don't duress me. Don't duress my Kaya. Don't do it. Okay. Kaya. Hopefully the opponent doesn't have a sacrifice outlet on 1 mana. They don't. Edgar go bye-bye. Edgar go attack. Lovely, 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 lovely stuff. Bloodchief's Thirst kills Kaya. Sad. Well, we are beginning to flood. Yeah, it's a Lolth. We will exile that, because I think I'm supposed to try to damage my opponent. Kill the spiders, do damage. I believe I'm holding on to lands at this point to discard to Mind Rot. Henrika. They draw a card and lose a life. Was I supposed to exile that before? Probably not. I think I need to save the exile for Edgar's. If I swing with Edgar, they block with Shambling Ghast. Am I okay with that? Probably. I could play Lolth and exile Henrika, I guess. But I kind of feel like my move is still supposed to just be Path of Peril. Well, maybe not. Nah, probably not. Alright, let's play Lolth. And downtick and pass. I'm a little nervous about Jwari Disruption, which I suppose means they're doing their job. It was Deadly Dispute. Okay. Sure. Vanishing Verse for the Lolth. Sure. Shambling Ghast, sure. Shambling Ghast, sure. So we exile the Henrika at that point. Yeah, I agree. That's a tough spot for you to be in, opponent.